one of the most evil, sadistic, cruel men to ever walk the planet. 60 dead bodies, no murder convictions. Join us next in the Murder Mafia for the Toy Box Killer, the story of David Parker Ray. Welcome back, Murder Mafia. I'm your host of pod, Father Richard Bystron. We have an unbelievably graphic, brutal story today, and because of that, I want to issue a trigger warning. I'm going to be reading from some transcripts from a audio tape left behind by the killer. There is some really, really graphic details. If that bothers you, I'm going to tell you now, as much as I love you guys, you might want to click off this one because it's going to be tough. Also, the merchandise launch is going to be next week. It is official. Hats, shirts, coffee mugs with, I'll give you a hint, it's got a really cool skeleton spoon that goes with the coffee mugs. We have some earrings. We have some really cool stuff that I think you guys are going to absolutely love. Also, and last but not least, before we get into the episode, the Patreon is up and running. I don't really ask for much because I do this because I love doing it. I cover a lot of the kids' cases because I feel like they need to be said. So I decided to go with Patreon because I had a lot of people contacting me asking how they could help. There's 3 tiers, $3, $5, $7. On top of bonus content, guys, you also can get a shirt, you can get lanyards, you can get a hat, you can get all sorts of cool stuff. So if you want to check that out, please do. Go to Patreon and then /The Murder Mafia. We've gotten a bunch this week. I love you guys and I thank you for that so much. You have no idea how much that means to me, and it just means that I can keep bringing you some of this content, especially the kids' cases, and we can shed some light on some things that happened that shouldn't. So today we're going to talk about David Parker Ray. And I'm actually kind of surprised that more people haven't gone to the depths of this case. I made the mistake of reading the whole FBI transcript from the audio tape that he left behind, and I'm kind of regretting that I did, because the things this man did and things this man said to women are so far beyond comprehension that you just kind of wouldn't believe it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. David Parker Ray was born November 6th of 1939. He was, again, known as the Toy Box Killer. He was never convicted of murder, even though there was as many as 60 dead bodies accredited to him, as little as 40, but he was never convicted of murder. He was convicted of kidnap, torture, and several counts of rape. He actually had accomplices. His girlfriend was an accomplice. His daughter was an accomplice. His friend was an accomplice. His claim to fame was he actually soundproofed a truck trailer that he called his toy box. He spent almost $100,000 on equipment to torture sexually different women. Like I said, he was convicted of kidnapping and torture in 2001. He received a 241-year sentence, I believe. He died of a heart attack May 28th, 2002, so unfortunately he didn't get to suffer nearly as much. His childhood was pretty tough. Him and his sister Peggy lived with their disciplinarian grandfather. He was sporadically visited by his violent alcoholic father, who would supply him with really, really bad magazines. They showed some of the magazines that he might have brought over, and to say that they're brutal would be maybe an understatement, but his father would supply him with super graphic, very, very dark pornography. That's never probably a good idea. Even though he terrorized an unbelievable amount of women with the tools that he had for years, they figure he actually probably started in the 1950s. Unfortunately, there's no proof of that, but he started at a very young age. A lot of people figure as young as 13 or 14, he started torturing women. His sister discovered these magazines that his father was bringing him. She also discovered some very, very dark pictures that he had been drawing, as well as Polaroids of things that he had been doing to women, and she never turned him in. He did join the Army after high school. He was honorably discharged, not quite sure how. He was divorced 4 times, had 2 children, including the accomplice I told you about earlier, Jessica Ray. He would use some of the most brutal means of torture that you could think of. The thumbnail pictures, if you look at the thumbnail pictures, guys, these are actual pictures taken from his torture chamber. He used whips, he used chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, leg spreading bars, surgical blades, saws, and he was an expert with them. Like this guy had developed an unbelievable proclivity to torture. It's really hard to believe how this guy got away with this for as long as he did. Unfortunately, with the help of his accomplices, some of whom who are alleged to have been several of the women he was dating, along with the sex toys and the people, he would use his dogs. Yes, you heard me right. He had 3 large German shepherds whom he had trained to rape women. That's part of what I'll get into with the FBI stuff, and it's reading it made my stomach upset. Like, I was like, holy shit, how is this even possible? To add insult to injury, he actually installed a mirror above the gynecology table that he used to strap these women down so they could see everything that was going to happen to them or that was happening to them while he had them strapped in. You guys can look it up yourself. There is an audio tape that he would play to each one of these victims before he started their torture. The FBI actually plays this to new recruits to desensitize them to what they're going to, or what they might possibly run into. So the person that actually got him busted, her name is Cynthia Vigil. She pronounced it Veal in an interview. He met her in a parking lot. She was a prostitute. Not that has anything to do with anything, because it doesn't. She went back to his trailer with him, which was in Elephant Butte, I believe. And he slapped a pair of handcuffs on her, said that he was a police officer. She was being arrested for prostitution. I'm actually going to play a clip right here. This is an interview of her talking. I've actually got 3 of these clips I'm going to put in here. But the first one, this is a interview with Cynthia talking about what she experienced.
My name is Cynthia Vigil, and I'm a former street worker in Albuquerque. It was March 22nd, 1999. I was taken to this guy, thinking it was a date. He handed me the money, and when I came up from putting it in my shoe, he put a handcuff on me and told me he was a cop. And I tried fighting him, and his girlfriend came out of nowhere and shocked me with a cattle prod. I was taken in Elephant Butte Lake, where they had torture chambers. I was totally naked, tied up to the headboard and footboard of the bed. He played a tape. He starts off by saying, "Hello, bitch."
Hello there, bitch. You're going to be kept chained in a variety of different positions.
I was shocked, raped, hung by the ceiling, drugged. Everything he thought of was done to me. After 3 days, the man went to work, and he took the handcuffs and shackles off me, but left me tied to the wall. And I untied myself. She beat me with a lamp, and she stabbed me with an ice pick in my back, and I stabbed her. And I ran.
So you can hear she's actually started a foundation for missing and exploited sex workers. These things that these women went through are just, to say they were heinous is probably an understatement of the year. And the thing is, this guy, even when he was busted, had no remorse whatsoever. Actually, that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put in, this is an exclusive interview with KOB in New Mexico. This is him just talking about what happened and his side of the story.
I feel raped. She enjoyed it?
Has he ever tortured anyone?
No.
Did he kidnap anyone?
No. I get my excitement from making a woman happy. My trailer had numerous sex toys in it of different types, all different fetishes. I got pleasure out of the woman getting pleasure. I did what they wanted me to do.
So you can hear him talking, and if you could see the video, he's got this shit-eating grin on his face. He just thinks he's the funniest thing in the world. Like, he did nothing wrong. He's just trying to pleasure these women. It's so bad. So, like I said, he posed as an undercover police officer when he approached Cynthia. To escape, somehow, she escaped. He was going to work. He left the keys, held the padlock, the keys that were used to unlock the padlock that her arms and legs were bound to, on a table right next to the torture area. His significant other at the time, who was an accomplice, which we're going to get into later on, walked out of the room. Cynthia grabbed the key. The accomplice actually came back in the room at this time. They got into a huge fight. Cynthia actually stabbed the accomplice in the neck. Hendy, that was his girlfriend at the time, and stabbed her in the neck with an ice pick. Got out of the house naked, screaming, ran to a neighbor who called the police. Hendy fell to the floor. She didn't die, unfortunately. She survived. She was also prosecuted. She received 36 years, I believe. Believe it or not, she actually only served 19 of it. She was released in 2019. Free as a bird. No parole, no supervision, no nothing. Police stopped Ray and Hendy. Ray was taken to jail after the publicity started surrounding the arrest. Another victim, Angelica Montano, came forward. She told a similar story, that she had reported the incident to police, but there had been no follow-up. Ray had a video of another victim, Kelly Garrett, also known as Kelly Van Cleve, which dated from 1996. Garrett ultimately was found in Colorado alive after police identified a tattoo on her ankle. She later testified that she got into a fight with her husband, decided to spend the night playing pool with Ray's daughter, Jessie. Ray's daughter, Jessie, drugged her. They took her back to her father's house, and he did what he did. Unfortunately, Ray thought he killed her when he cut her throat. She wasn't dead, and they dumped her on the side of the road. She actually got home and reported the rape to police and to her husband. Okay? Neither one of them believed her. They didn't believe that she was serious. They believed that she had been cheating on her husband. They never followed up with it. Her husband actually divorced her. Even with her throat cut wide open, they didn't believe her. After the divorce, she moved to Colorado and was actually interviewed by Cold Case Files. It's actually a really good interview. 2 other accomplices were uncovered under the investigation. Jessie Ray, who was his daughter, like I said, and Dennis Yancey. Yancey admitted to strangling his former girlfriend, Marie Parker, after Ray had kidnapped and tortured her. Yancey was convicted of second-degree murder and of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 2 15-year prison terms. After that murder, Ray allegedly admitted to having an accomplice named Billy Bowers, a previous business partner whom Ray also murdered. The FBI sent 155 different agents, or a total of 155 agents, to examine Ray's property and surroundings, but not a single piece of identifiable remains were found. To prevent reporting the crimes, Ray had often drugged them with agents to induce amnesia. He made a tape recording of himself telling one woman that the drugs were, quote, sodium pentothal and phenobarbital. One woman remained uncertain that her recollections of the abuse were anything but nightmares until she was contacted by the FBI. After questioning, she obviously started remembering things and came to. A decision was made to try Ray on 3 different trials, which was, we talk about this before, a lot of times they will not charge somebody with everything just in case they screw up. Pretty smart decision on this part, because unfortunately they would have. The first trial, like I said, he was tried on 3 different trials for against Cynthia Vigil and the other against Angelica Montano and Kelly Garrett. Trial 1 resulted in a mistrial, which they did retry him, but it did result in a mistrial. So just think about it. If they would have actually tried everything at once and there would have been a mistrial, then they lost their bite at the apple. Montano unfortunately died before the second trial and there was no conviction. And Ray agreed to a plea bargain in which he was sentenced in 2001 to 224 years in prison for numerous offenses in the third trial in regards to the abduction and sexual torture of the 3 women at his Elephant Butte Lake home. Ray's daughter, Glenda, Jessie, also was tried on charges of kidnapping. She was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison with an additional 5 years to be served on probation. What? So his daughter, a willing participant who drugged women to let her father rape, torture, and murder, got 2.5 years? Unfucking believable. In 1999, accomplice Dennis Roy Yancey was convicted of the strangulation murder of Marie Parker. Ray actually recorded the whole thing. In 2010, Yancey was paroled after serving 11 years in prison, but the release was delayed by difficulties in negotiating a plan for residence. 3 months after his release in 2011, Yancey was charged with violating his parole. He was remanded to custody where he is to remain until next year, 2021, when he will be free forever. In 2000, Cindy Hendy, an accomplice who testified against Ray, that was the girlfriend, received a sentence of 36 years for her role in the crimes. She was scheduled to receive parole in 2017. She wasn't released until 2019, and I didn't understand why until I read some of the case file. She would have had 2 years on parole. She knew she couldn't do parole, so she chose to serve those 2 years of parole while locked up. So when she was released July 15th of 2019, she actually had no supervision at all by the state. On May 28th of 2002, Ray was taken to the Lee County Correctional Facility in Hobbs, New Mexico, to be questioned by the state police. He died of a heart attack before the interrogation took place. I'm going to play you a recording of him talking, part of the tape that was recovered by the FBI.
Hello there, bitch. You probably think you're going to be raped, and you're fucking sure right about that.
I remember hearing his voice, and it sends shivers down my spine.
You're not going to remember a fucking thing about this little adventure.
It was like you could cut through the air with a knife.
As far as I'm concerned, you're a pretty piece of meat. Be smart and be a survivor. Have a nice day. You are obviously here against your will. You'll be raped thoroughly and repeatedly in every hole you've got.
So you can hear, and just imagine being a person already scared out of your mind and hearing that come on a tape recorder, and the first thing you heard is, "Hey, bitch." Now I'm going to issue a trigger warning now again, guys. This is super sensitive, super intense, what I'm going to read to you guys. Please, if it bothers you, turn it off now. I love you guys. I want you to listen, but I also need you to not throw up all over your homes. Many girls beg and plead. Almost all of them cry a lot, especially during the first 3 or 4 days. And some of them scream and threaten. But I have a poster on the wall in the playroom that says it all. If they're worth taking, they're worth keeping. And I'm going to tell you, just so you know, since you are being kept here against your will, we will never trust anything you say, do, or promise. You are a potential threat to us, and you will always be treated as such. On numerous occasions, bitches have told me that they'd do anything I wanted them to do, if I just take the chains off. I've been offered ransom money. I've even had girls tell me they liked it. But I like to use the chains. Money's not that important, and masochists are rare as hell. Haha. I wonder what your scam's gonna be. Not anything that I haven't heard before. I bet if you get a chance to talk all that... Well, let's change the subject a little bit. You already know that, for the most part, you're going to be kept in the playroom. But once in a while, we like to take a captive into the bedroom. In chains, of course. Also, we have a couple of real close friends that we party with once in a while. They know about our hang-ups, but they don't have any problem fucking a slave. You may be required to service them occasionally. That's an easy one. But for the most part, just fucking and sucking. They don't get into the heavier stuff. However, when we have a party, sometimes I like to put on a little show that you won't like at all. You'll be taken into the living room and put on a floor on your hands and knees, naked. Your wrists, ankles, knees, and hips will be strapped to a metal frame to hold your body in that position. The frame is designed for doggy fucking. Your ass up in the air, sex organs exposed, your tits hanging down on each side of the metal support bar. Knees spread about 12 inches, position similar to that of a bitch dog in heat. Right in the middle of the floor so we can sit on the couch and in chairs and watch. I'm going to rub canine breeder's musk on your back, the back of your neck, and on your sex organs. Now I have 3 dogs. All of them's male, because I don't need any fucking pups. One of them is a very large German Shepherd that's always horny, and he loves it when I bring him to the house to fuck a woman. After I let him in the house, he'll sniff around you a little bit, and within a minute, he'll be mounting you. There's about a 50-50 chance which hole he'll get his penis into, but it doesn't seem to bother him whether it's the pussy or the asshole. His penis is pretty thin, it goes in easy, but it's about 10 inches long, and when he gets completely excited, it gets a hell of a knot right in the middle of it. Now, I've had slaves tell me it feels like they got a baseball inside of them. It doesn't take long, he's going to hump you real fast for about 3 or 4 minutes, and while he's doing it, he'll wrap his front legs around your chest to hold himself in position. In the process, he'll probably scratch your tits up a little bit with his claws, and that's normal. After he gets through, he usually turns around and tries to pull out. Oh, he'll jerk a little, not much, mostly steady pressure. I've timed it. The knot will shrink up in about 3 or 4 minutes to come out of your pussy. If he's in your asshole, it's about 5 minutes. I don't use the dog all that often, but I don't deprive him of pussy either. There's no doubt that he's going to be on you a few times while you're here, because I like watching it. And anytime it's just you, me, and the dog, it'll always be in your butt. The dog not on his penis and big is extremely uncomfortable when he's pushing it back and forth all the way up in your anus. I really enjoy watching a girl wiggle, jerk, and squirm around while he's doing it. Consequently, I give him a little assistance getting it in the right hole. Now, if you think this is all sick and depraved, you haven't seen anything yet. This is a different world among our small circle of friends. This man is the sickest individual I have come across, ever. In reading thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cases, and thousands and thousands and thousands of appeals, this man is the sickest human being to unfortunately come across my desk. Let me know what you think, Mafia. Please feel free to message me if you have some cases. I've got about 15 or 20 cases that have been messaged to me the last couple of days that I will be covering. For myself, the Podfather, Richard Bystron, stay safe. And remember, everybody, evil walks among us.